you by thesis123.com. I learn and teach online.
Here's the next question. Number 6. Consider the function f of z is equal to z plus z conjugate, where z is a complex variable and z star or z conjugate denotes its complex conjugate. Which one of the following is true? F of z is both continuous and analytic. F of z is continuous but not analytic. F of z is not continuous but is analytic. And f of z is neither continuous nor analytic. Okay, so here we have 4 different options. All 4 of them are dealing with the function being continuous or analytic. So before we get into this, we have to understand under what circumstances a function is called continuous or analytic. So I'll put down the definition here for you. First, let's look about when a function is said to be continuous. Okay, continuous. So a function is said to be continuous at some point. Let's call the point x is equal to a, when 2 certain conditions should be satisfied. A function is said to be continuous at a certain point x is equal to a when 2 things. The first is when f of a exists. Okay, so we should be able to see if f of a exists. Then limit x tends to a, f of x exists. Now these are the 2 basic conditions. We also have a third condition which says that f of a should be equal to limit x tends to a, f of x. Generally, if limit x tends to a, f of x exists, then f of a would equal to limit of x tends to a, f of x. So if these conditions are fulfilled, then the function is known to be continuous. So if we take a look at the function given to us, f of z for a certain variable z, complex variable z, and its conjugate. So let me just write that down here on the side. Now let's assume that z is x plus iy. Now because the question says that x is a complex variable, let's assume that z is equal to x plus iy, where this is a complex term. Now the conjugate or z conjugate, z star, would be written as x minus iy, since it's conjugate. This is z's conjugate. So we have z and z conjugate. Now let's take a certain point a. At x is equal to a, we see that f of a definitely exists for both of these terms. If we add them both, z plus z conjugate, since that is our function f of z, we get x plus iy plus x minus iy, which is 2x. 2x. Let me just take another sheet of paper and we'll continue here. So we have f of z is equal to 2x. So at a certain point x is equal to a, f of a is equal to 2a. Right, so we substitute a over here and we get the term as 2a. So this means that f of a exists. So that's our first condition proved. Now the next condition says that limit x tends to a, f of x exists. Limit x tends to a, f of x, so that's f of z, which is supposed to be limit z tends to a to x. or since this is in terms of x, we can say x tends to a to x. So it definitely does exist. This will give us 2a. Next condition says that f of a should equal to limit of x tends to a f of x. Now what is f of a? We found that f of a is 2a. So 2a is equal to limit x tends to a f of x is also 2a. So this is satisfied as well. Now because of all of these conditions being satisfied, we say that the function f of z is continuous. So that's our first part proven. Now we have to see if the given function is analytic. So that's our next part. Now in order to see if a function is analytic, we have to use Cauchy-Riemann's equation. Cauchy-Riemann, one of the two Cauchy-Riemann equations denotes that dou u by dou x should be equal to dou v by dou y. Okay, so let's just keep this in mind while checking if the function is analytic. If dou u by dou x is equal to dou v by dou y, then we say that the function is analytic. If it is not, then it is not. That's about it. So let's begin. We have f of z is equal to z plus z conjugate, and we found that to be 2x. So if we were to write it as a complex term, let's write this as 2x plus I0. And let's assume that this is u plus iv. Now comparing these two, we see that u is equal to 2, v is equal to 0 or 2x. u is equal to 2x, v is equal to 0. So dou u by dou x, if we take now the partial derivations of each, dou u by dou x is 2, dou u by dou y is 0, dou v by dou x is 0, and dou v by dou y is also 0. Now look at the Cauchy-Riemann equation over here. So dou u by dou x should be equal to dou v by dou y. But we see here that dou u by dou x 2 is not equal to dou v by dou y. So I'll write that down here. So since dou u by dou x is not equal to dou v by dou y, it is not analytic. So we find that now the function f of z is continuous, but it is not analytic. So we'll take a look at the options given here. Is continuous but not analytic? The answer is B. Well, I hope this has helped.
Thank you for watching this video. For future videos, please click here to subscribe YouTube channel. Visit our site thesis123.com for free student project or research ideas and online training. Follow us Facebook, Twitter, Google+ and Pinterest.